So she's got issues, basically, is what you're saying, and we have to sort that out before we figure out.
Oh my gosh, she's got so many issues. She has daddy issues, and he's not even her daddy anymore, for God's sake. Hello and welcome to Incomplete Geeks, a gay geek podcast. I'm Nick and this is John. We are so much the fourth and fifth wheel in the Scott, Jean, Logan relationship that we make Professor X's wheelchair uncomfortable.
It's a bit tenuous, but I get it. I like it. Have you ever been in like an orgy of 4 or 5 or more people?
Yes. So
anyway, this is episode, are we counting? 14, I think?
14? Yes, because we did Baker's Dozen, Bucky 13
Yes.
last week. Episode 14 of Incomplete Geeks, a gay geek podcast.
What are we talking about today, Nicholas?
We're talking about random gay geek shit.
Finally. This is like the whole point of our podcast. There's nothing crazy going on this week. There's nothing sort of to watch or to, there's no large themes. I guess we could talk about DC one day, but that's like, there's no important large themes
that we want to cover today. There will be lots of big TV coming up in the following weeks. So this is our kind of episode to kind of go over some stuff that we want to talk about that we haven't got to yet.
Yeah. So, and it's not quite like an I want to talk about thingy because we're not really going on our own personal rants. We're just talking about stuff.
It's not like a presentation. It's kind of like a let's talk about this kind of thing. Well, mine is anyway. What have you been geeking this weeking?
Listen to me very carefully because I'm only going to say this once.
I've been geeking this weeking. I've been thinking about when we talked about Star Trek last week at some point, where I'm afraid that it's going to vanish off of Netflix and I won't have access to the last 3 series.
Yeah.
The last 3 seasons.
It's going to go to Paramount Plus, won't it?
And so I want to hurry up and watch the Voyager. Now, this has been taking me like at least 2 years to watch this show. And you're a big fan of Voyager, and I have other friends who are big fans of Voyager, and I really want to watch it because everyone goes on about how great the last like 3-4 seasons are. Once in a while, here's what I want to do with this bit or whatever this turns into. I'd like to, not every single episode, but like just talk about the past ones that I've seen and sort of reflect on how I'm watching it as a new person. Because I'm trying not to look into too much of like the wiki because then it'll spoil some other things. And it's really, really hard. But I largely don't know a lot about what happens. Like I mentioned to you before, I suppose they must make it back home eventually, but I don't know a lot about. I know very little about. Well, I don't know how much I know. I just don't think I know a lot about
how many of them make it home and how.
Good point. How many? I mean, it'd be weird if Janeway didn't make it back, and people. I mean, I guess they could. No, because she shows up in like whatever that cartoon is. The
as a hologram. That's not her.
Okay, so it's
a programmed hologram.
Does she show up in one of the films?
I am not going to answer that question.
So I watched 2 episodes, and I'll just mention a couple things. And I know that you've not seen it. You probably haven't seen it for a long time, but you'll know these episodes when I describe them. Mm-hmm. One of them is the one which we are introduced to a character called Naomi Wildman. Okay, and you've mentioned her, and I know that she existed, but I've not seen her. And then I realized that this kid shows up, and it's the one about like the fairy book, where she goes and talks about like there's like a tree creature and a water creature. The episode was called Once Upon a Time, and it's quite early on in series 5, and and I learned later that it's the first showing of this version of Naomi Wildman, so like the child
non-baby
version. And you've spoken about her like, oh, obviously Naomi Wildman, duh. And I'm like, who? The baby? This is the first showing. This is the first time we see her this early in season 5. A child actor, and you know how I feel about child actors. Generally hate them. Mm-hmm. I've since kind of understood a little bit more about why I hate child actors.
Because they're bad, and they're children.
Because they're children. We don't. But like when children are meant to be doing something like precocious, I hate that word, precocious. But when children are meant to be doing something like just being children, like they're fine. when they're meant to sort of have feelings, like I've complicated feelings as a child actor. I need to experience like the shame and the guilt and the worry of like adult characters. It doesn't come across because children are children; they don't give a fuck. One way to get around that is to have them do things. So whenever Naomi Wildman, and I'm not critiquing her as an actor, as a young actor. Instead of having them like feel things, have them do stuff. And it's much more interesting to see children do stuff in weird situations than it is to see them act it out. And I always think about Game of Thrones when I think about child actors, because largely the children there are not heard from, except for the ones that are like the forefront, like the Stark children, when they are always doing something. They don't, it doesn't matter. And then the acting comes through it. So without getting into too much detail, I was surprisingly okay with this. Like, I didn't pay attention to her storybook scenes, but I was like, okay, Naomi Wildman.
I think the reason why back in those days kid actors wouldn't have had much opportunity to do stuff because the schedule's so bloody grueling. They couldn't have been on set for as long as the others. Whereas Game of Thrones, I mean, I'm sure it was grueling, but it's a shorter season. Whereas Voyager was so many episodes, and a kid is like, well, you can do like a few hours, but then that's it. So
and it's like a few hours on like 3 days of the year instead of Game of Thrones.
You can talk about it, and then you need to fuck off back to school or whatever. You know. Sort of
say your lines. Moving on. So basically, this episode shone a light on Neelix the same way that the next episode, which I watched, which is called Timeless, where
a time travel one. I like
a time travel one, which I have.
I love
nerd thoughts about time travel. I don't know. I don't always like. I mean, if it's fine. It's the one where you see LaForge as a captain. So basically, in the way that this episode works, I'll give you a brief recap if I can. It's basically Chakotay and Harry are in the Delta Flyer, and Harry's like this completely different person trying to correct his mistake from 15 years ago. Does this ring a bell at all to you, by the way?
Oh, maybe I didn't see this one.
Okay, so basically, it's a time travel one where it's Chakotay and Harry in the future, and they find at the very beginning they find Voyager underneath the snow, underneath this glacier, and they teleport in, and everybody's dead, covered in frost. And they find the Doctor's holo, the mobile emitter, and they find 709's body and like take her skull or something. No, they take her body, but then they get the Doctor to sort of take out some brain implant, and the Doctor's just. There's this really weird shot where the Doctor's holding like half of a skull, and you see an eyeball, and it like zooms in, and I'm like, that's 709's skull, and he's like, yes, I can find the chip inside, and it's just right here. And meanwhile, the camera is like, it's her eyeball right there. And I was like, why are you doing this?
Oh, I don't remember any of this.
So, LeVar Burton directed this episode.
Mm.
And I know that because I'm a nerd and watched the credits at the beginning. So him appearing,
we all watch the credits at the beginning. You kind of have to.
Skip the whole. Skip that. Yeah. But watch like the guest starring, and so obviously his name comes up. I'm like, oh, LaForge is in this. He shows up as Captain LaForge, trying to tell Chakotay, stand down. You've stolen this thing to this Borg transmitter, or whatever, to go to zap a signal back in the past to Seven to make her change the coordinates so they come out of the slipstream instead of crashing to their deaths. So basically, my whole point about these two episodes is knowing nothing about what happens to these characters. I've told you what I think about Neelix before. I think he's a strange character. I don't care about him until he's suddenly having issues, like when he realizes he's become expendable, or he has no use because his knowledge has run out, and that makes him an interesting character. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was looking after this kid, Naomi, and I don't really care about the child so much, but he's talking about how much he misses his sister, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I'm on board with this character. And the same way with Kim. You know how much I hate Harry Kim. He's just a wet rag. He's a wet rag. But fast forward 15 years in the future, he's like this sort of scowly kind of, oh, I need to correct the past mistakes. And he's like lowered his voice, and he's like, oh, I need to sort of help, and I don't know if this kills us, and I want to get this done.
You're kind of into it.
It kind of works.
Yeah. Like,
I'm okay with this. Like, I am okay to watch this. And it's really interesting how they're in season 5, and they're finally starting to do more things with exploring the characters and what their struggles are. you have a character who's like all peachy and roses, and they're not interesting. You have a character that has some issues, and you're like, okay. Do you have any thoughts on these episodes?
Is that the questions that you had?
Did I have questions? I'm not sure. I just wanted to talk about these episodes. I
I
quite like
haven't seen them.
You haven't seen?
I
You've
don't
seen
think I've
all
seen
of them.
If I have, I don't know. I do not remember that. Plus, it sounds like a Chakotay episode, so
It's more of a Harry episode.
well, that's less offensive, but
Chakotay's in it apparently, and the thing they don't explore is that in the 15 years in the future, Chakotay like has like a wife, and they keep telling her like you can give up, you can surrender yourself and like have a life, and she's like, if you succeed, then none of this matters anyway. And what they don't do is have some lining where she realizes that if you succeed, then we will never have met probably. And there's a little bit where Chakotay's like, maybe we will find each other again. I'm like, but what she should have been was like, this might be nothing, but at least I know that I'm helping you save 150 people or whatever back on your ship or whatever.
plus then she doesn't have to be married to Chakotay. Hear about his ancestors buried on faraway lands, blah, 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 every time.
Ancestors, I pray to you. I am far from the place where I grew up.
Spirits told me in a dream. Oh my god.
How do the spirits know where he is?
Oh, how do they find you? And if they can find you, can't they get you home quicker? Jeez.
Exactly. They should. Spirits, I'm far away from where I live. Can you please just help us come home? Tell my family members that I'm alive.
Ancestors could have given you a shortcut home, for Christ's sake.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more.
I'm wondering if I need to then watch that season. Maybe I missed that one completely, because there was a time between when I was at home getting the VHS copies and when I came to England. There was probably a gap where I didn't watch them, because like the finale happened pretty soon after I came here, so I maybe missed a chunk of them.
Okay, well,
Maybe
they're all on Netflix for now.
Ooh. They'll be on Paramount Plus as well. I assume they're all over there. I don't have much to contribute to that. Sorry.
Well, maybe next time I'll like explain the episode a bit more, and we can talk about like
the live read.
Yeah, I won't do the whole script though. Could you? Maybe I will. As an actor, I'll represent every character. What if I did like a one-man show of Voyager? I'll buy some. I'll rent out.
Subscribe now for $3.99 to listen to John read out episodes of Voyager.
And I'll have voices for everybody, and then I'll have like, you can read the stage directions.
So,
and the captain's logs.
The audio book that Captain Janeway's autobiography, brilliant book. It's the first one of the only audiobooks I've ever listened to. Her and Michelle Obama's. It was narrated by Kate Mulgrew. And it was written by Naomi Wildman. Soz, spoilers, she survives.
Right, okay.
But not really, you know what I mean. Yeah. And it's brilliant because it's amazing to have Janeway reading out her story and everything like that. And it's good because it's an autobiography, so she's just reading her voice rather than when you listen to audiobooks where they have to like... If it's like, I've tried listening to Dune and there's one guy trying to do all the women's voices.
Yeah. I don't like that. I only do audiobooks for like non-fiction.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But, however, she does do some like quotes as if, it's Captain Janeway reading out the story. It's like, oh, my father told me this. Oh, and my mum said to me, that sort of stuff. And she says something that one of her professors told her, but her professor's, the fictional character, must have been Indian?
Oh! As a Native American Indian?
No.
As an Indian?
As in...
From India?
Yeah, because, yes, as an actual Indian.
Does she do an accent?
Kate Mulgrew does the accent. And
all
the way up until then, I was like, this is flawless. This is the perfect. I'm just the happiest I've ever been. And then she kind of does the... And I'm like, no, Kate, no.
Welcome to India.
No, exactly. It's like, you didn't need... You could have kind of done the affected tone of like a well-spoken kind of thing, but she kind of did the...
Oh, no.
So I'm like, oh, let's just skip
this.
Quickly. Move on.
Yeah, let's forget that happened. How long ago was that?
Not that long ago. And I was listening to it during lockdown.
Oh, okay.
So
there's definitely kids in your background now, by the way. Speaking of children.
Fucking children.
Fucking
Fucking
children.
And there's a fucking ice cream van that keeps... I think there's two.
Ugh.
Two fucking ice cream vans that keep going around here with the loudest fucking... whatever it's called. Melody going.
Siren.
So loud. And like, it's there. I can see you. If you put that fucking thing on...
Because kids aren't looking outside.
They are outside. The kids... That's why you can hear them.
Okay.
They're already outside. Anyway, so we hate children. But Voyager's great. Kate Mulgrew, slightly problematic accent.
Slightly problematic.
Shall we get on to the main topic?
Yeah.
Previously on X-Men.
Are all the X-Men queer now?
Yes.
How much do you know about what's happening in the comics?
Okay, so I know from our friends at CBQ that there's a new, is it Jean Grey's daughter has come out to her.
Uh-huh.
And I know that, of course, they've retconned Bobby Drake as a big old gay.
Yeah.
And there's a few gay characters that are coming out of the woodwork. Coming out of the work. There's a few gay characters that are written now because obviously it's more accepted now. So we've got like Wiccan and Hulkling are a couple. Who else is a couple in? North Star, who's an Alpha Flight. Yeah, he's a poof. That's about it, I think.
There are loads of queer characters, but we'll get onto that. But it's more along the lines of, do you know what's happening with the X-Men?
Is there a House of Q event?
No.
I want to see House of Q event, like House of M, but with House of Q. They all become queer. No more straighties! Ah! And then Scarlet Witch just sort of makes rainbows fly everywhere, and everyone's queer.
Kind of. Well, it's confusing because the start of the reboot was called House of X, so I was like, you got the wrong letter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I will definitely start reading comics if they make a House of Q event.
Q-Force.
House of Q universe.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what people might say they're trying to do now. So do you know about Krakoa?
Know about Krakoa. It's like a haven for mutants.
Yeah. So, like, the reboot
and Magneto kind of rules there?
No, he's one of them. So they've gone away from the old boring TV show that we used to have. Everyone's in a mansion in upstate New York, hiding away, save the day, Blackbird, jet, blah, blah, blah. So now they're on an island for mutants. They grow special plants, which are drugs which like prolong life and cure disease and everything like that. So they sell the plants to humans under the condition that they recognize Krakoa, the island, as a sovereign nation, and they're kind of taking that kind of approach to their rights, but doing it from a more realistic point of view. So rather than
I was going to say
everyone's going to be happy and in love, it's like, no, we've tried this before, and you keep exterminating us.
We're going to make a political alliance.
Yeah, it's like, if you want our stuff, you're going to have to pay for it. And it's a huge shift, because it's a huge character shift for Professor X, who's like given up on his dream. He's basically like, no, they'll never accept us, so we just have to kind of protect ourselves in this way and look after our own. So there's like a council of people. They have a resurrection protocol, so when they die, they can resurrect themselves, so mutants will never die, and they can bring mutants back. So all the mutants who died over the years can all come back now, because it's kind of like a joke in the X-Men world, isn't it? Like, you die, how long
they've been
until
around
you come
for like
back?
50 years.
So now they've just kind of like, whatever.
Professor X is like 150 by now.
Exactly. So now they've kind of made it their thing that you can come back. But it's utopia for mutants, and there's kind of a vibe that pretty much everyone there is just having a fucking great time. Like, they have their own houses, they're free from persecution, they can travel wherever they want, they don't need money, there's booze there, people coming back from the dead. It's like utopia and everything like that. And because of that, the vibes are very much like, is everybody kind of queer? And it does kind of seem like the vibes are like, let's try it out. So people are kind of experimenting.
You mean like, let's try that as in like, I'm going to be bi-curious.
Everyone's a little bisexual or something like that. And, the whole joke that Scott, Jean, and Logan are in a throuple now.
Yeah.
That they're kind of alluding to, and all that kind of thing.
Oh my God, hilarious. Well, in a way, like you said, I mean, obviously the X-Men have always been an allegory for homosexuals.
Massively. So I find it kind of interesting because a lot of the characters, because Chris Claremont wrote the X-Men for so long, and he made them so important and introduced all the characters that are so important. So many of the characters that he wrote, he wanted to make them gay or queer or bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
He was also into a lot of BDSM, which I think is what screwed most of the gay people up, because all his women are in black leather, controlling strong women. And if you start reading it again, you're like, oh,
You're like, oh, this is
good for you,
this may have
Chris. But
this may have shaped my.
yeah, so a lot of the
childhood.
characters, he wanted them, like he was writing them, that is, he wanted them to be queer in some way. But in researching this, I found out that it was 1986 when the American, oh god, I wrote notes. Bear with.
86 was a bad year for gays. I don't know what happened in 86. I was 2 years old.
The American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic Handbook. Only in 1986 did they take out homosexuality as a mental illness. And considering, Chris had been writing it since the 70s, and the New Mutants came out in 1982 and everything like that, it was still thought he couldn't write these characters, as in like Kitty Pryde couldn't have a girlfriend, because that was still very much mental illness. And I mean, I kind of always knew that, but I didn't realize how impossible it was for him to have tried to do that.
Yeah, but like, is he? Wait, so in terms of context, is he himself gay?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Just thinks they're awesome. The fact that he was putting all this subtext in was quite risky, but amazing that he did it.
Yeah.
It's also, when people are like, oh God, everyone's gay all of a sudden, you're trying to force it in. It's like, no, we've been trying to have this representation. This writer has been trying to have these characters be this way for so long. Now it's finally allowed and people are like appreciating it. It does feel like it's all over the place, because we're like, right, let's get all this stuff back in. Let's do all this the subtext.
So people who are complaining, are they complaining about the gays all over the place now or before?
Yeah. Now, because there weren't any before. Like even like North Star was the first one that they brought out in the 90s. And who gives a shit about North Star? I mean, I still don't, but I certainly didn't give a shit about him in the 90s. So yeah, it does feel like every character is queer now, or they're turning characters queer, or every character they've introduced in the last 5-10 years is queer of some kind. And usually it's bisexual, because I feel like that's a bit of a cop-out, because then they're like, we'll decide what we do with them later, rather than taking a kind of like hard stance and they're like this way or that. They're like, let's just make them all bi. Everyone's a little bit bi. It's like,
why now gay later?
Not really, but I was wondering what your thoughts are. Like, do you think, I just suppose you don't really read the comics.
I don't really read comics, but like listening to you talk about it, I'm thinking like, I don't understand what the problem is. Like, if people who are complaining that there's gays everywhere, I'm assuming this is straight people having this complaint, but like, you've had straight people for decades. Like, you can take a back seat for a while. If it's true that they're just putting a lot of subtext. I mean, I do also know that in generations being more and more liberal, there are a lot more young people who are coming out as LGBT nowadays than there were like years ago. So
there's a lot of different ways to be LGBTQ as well nowadays. Yeah. Like before, it was just very much like gays do that and lesbians do that, and that's it. You didn't have the freedom to kind of choose.
Yeah, they were easily more identifiable and able to be labeled, I suppose, back in the day. Whether that means that today we're able to identify as LGBT more, or if there are legitimately more LGBT youth nowadays, I don't know, but it could just be a reflection on that. It's just a culture sort of shift, and I'm okay with it.
Controversial opinion. Sometimes I think there's too many queers in comics.
Okay, that's fine.
And I know, like, I don't want them to not, but it does feel like kind of almost every new character or every young character has to be queer in some way. Like, the perfect example is the Young Avengers. Like, the only straight one on that team is Kate Bishop. Every single other one is gay or bisexual or lesbian. And that's great, awesome, brilliant. It kind of waters down the excitement of it. And
does it lessen your feeling of being special?
A little. I don't know. I'm not saying I don't want every character. I definitely don't want every character to go through a coming out story and, oh God, people won't accept me. Ugh, that story's bullshit. I do think Iceman being retconned to be gay was really, really important and really well done. Because if you look back at his character, it works really well when you read his huge, obviously he's been around since the first issue, and it works really well. Like, because he's awkward and uncomfortable and never, it's like, oh, I just can't find the right girl. Is a consistent, very, very consistent character trait for him. The way he's always like covering up his insecurities with humor, the way he's always willing to like de facto to one of the other leaders, was never willing to be like fully confident. He's always awkward and weird and hiding something. And that brilliant arc where Emma Frost took over his body and used his powers in incredible ways he'd never used before. And then a few issues later, he's like, I need you to tell me how to do it, that sort of stuff. And she kind of implies it's like, there's other things on your mind. Like, what would I find if I went back in your mind, Bobby? And it was, I don't know if it was, I don't even know if I even picked up on that as a kid, but it's so obvious and so brilliant. And of course, Emma would find it. Of course, Emma would know. Emma knew and didn't say anything. Class act. Yeah. Jean knew and told everyone. Fuck you, Jean.
What a bitch.
What a bitch. What a bitch. But it's great. It makes you see that he did struggle with it, and he, everyone would have been supportive, and now he has to be like this other awkward grown-up where it makes it really relatable. He's like, oh, I'm fine being out, and now I don't really know what that means. Do I want a relationship, or do I want to fuck around, especially because it's Krakoa? Everyone's fucking everyone. It's great. And he's dating Emma Frost's brother. That's the gayest thing anyone's ever done, is he's sleeping with the White Queen's brother.
Okay, I don't even know who that is.
You know who Emma Frost is, though.
Yeah.
Who
doesn't?
She's got a brother who's gay in it. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
And they're sleeping together. And I was like, that's the gayest thing ever. It's amazing.
Okay, I'm in for that. So it sounds like the people who retconned him to be gay. Well, they made it so that he wasn't even a retcon. It was just like, it just works. So it was done by people who know him as a character since the 60s.
And it was done really well. And lots of people at the time were like, oh, can't you just have new characters? Why are you taking all of our characters? And it's like, this is so much more important that you see people who weren't always out and always comfortable with it. And he's just figuring out at a later stage. Yeah. So I love that. I think this is showing my age and my bitterness. I think the reason I don't really like or appreciate all the new queer characters is because it seems too easy for them. And it just seems like a load of Gen Z twinks just all being fine with their sexuality and not having any issues or any bitterness or anything. Yeah. And here as a 40-year-old queer, I'm like, fuck you for being happy.
Are you talking about the new characters they're making?
So I don't give a shit about Wiccan and Hulkling because it just seems it's too easy. Like, oh yeah, we're gay. Everyone loves us, and now we rule the universe. They literally rule the universe. It's like, it's like the young 22-year-olds who get married at 25 and buy a house in Clapham. Like,
it's the same reason I can't watch Heartstopper.
100%. Exactly.
People, these young gays who are totally fine with their sexuality, and they're totally like, oh my God, I'm in love with you. Everybody at school, in like when I'm 15, 16, however old they are, everyone knows, and they're okay with it. I may get a bit bullied once in a while, but I'm out and I'm totally like whatever to everybody. Like, oh, it's good for you.
They're all
you don't know what it's like. They're all happy.
They're all happy.
You can find it first love.
And I'm glad those stories exist. I'm really glad that's out.
Very
but
important
I can't watch
that
it.
they exist.
I can't watch it.
But
I can't watch it. It's like, fuck you for being young, skinny, and in a relationship at 17. And here I sit sweating in my bedroom. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. Here I am sweating, thinking like, oh my God, what if they found it at work? What if they know? What if they figure out? Like,
oh well, I'm not quite like.
I get nervous talking about my boyfriend at work because I don't know like who knows and like who. There's certain people at work who I wouldn't talk openly about my boyfriend, and like I'm not hiding it. I'm just sort of like, I'm not like.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So that's why I think like I'm with you. The reason I'm not as excited by it.
That's also why Iceman coming out is like so not coming out even. It's just
He did come out,
so
yeah.
poignant because it's like us reading those comics as a younger person, and I'm not speaking for myself obviously, but like we are those persons. Like if Iceman comes out and says I always was this way, then we can identify more as saying like we were always that way as well. And I feel for
And
you.
it's nice to see him see a struggle without it being the same old shit. Like his dad, I don't know if his dad is still alive, but his dad is a piece of shit, bigot, racist asshole. So I don't know if they made him homophobic too. I don't know if they did. So maybe, but it was never the point of the story. Like his character now is much more about like, oh, like I'm a senior X-Men person. I'm an Omega level mutant. I'm grown up. I'm hot, and I'm out.
Oh yeah, I've got his Omega level too.
Surely that should make everything easy, right? And it's still like, oh, ooh, do I? And I love, and it seems so much
It's
more
the character
for us
struggle.
oldies, yeah, rather than a Null. Who gives a shit about a Null? Like he has this green guy with a weird arm, and he's gay. Whoop-de fucking do.
I don't know who are you talking about.
Oh, you don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I don't even know what his powers are. It's just so uninspiring.
Interesting. Okay. So, yeah. So, are they all gay now? Yeah, probably. And...
Well, yeah, and what's the other one? Like back to the Chris Claremont thing, which is a great example of like Jean Grey's daughter from An Alternate Future that you mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel is one of my favorite characters,
yeah.
Rachel Summers. She was introduced by Chris Claremont, and he has said on record that he always intended for her to be the love of Kitty's life. Because when they went back into, like, she went back in time, they were bonded closely because they knew each other as adults. When Ileana disappeared, they became best friends, and it was he always wrote it that, they kind of were in their awkward young 20s together, and it was when they should have been together. But obviously, he wasn't allowed to write that. But it was always his intention that she would be. And when you look back at it, like I love Rachel; she's such a brilliant character. She is drawn and written as such a stereotypical dykey character. Like she always has a buzz cut or a mullet, or like she's in biker clothes or bondage gear or anything like that. There's never like a flowy, pretty dress or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was very much a character. And if she'd been written as a lesbian the whole time, we would be like, that's cool. That works. Whereas it was kind of written as she wasn't allowed to be that.
Wait, so how was she written
now
then?
She is. Kitty Pryde is now officially bisexual.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Rachel.
And Rachel is now officially sleeping with Psylocke, who is also bisexual. Which is wonderful! Everyone's shagging everyone. So it's very obvious that Betsy and Rachel are just like shagging and having a lovely time.
Yeah, okay, I love it.
So that Rachel can end up with Kitty, which is what's going to happen. And they are two of my favorite characters. And I like that they're going to go like around about rather than going straight into it. I can't wait. Straight
into it. Into it.
Straight into a relationship.
Oh my god, I love you. Let's get cats together.
Two hearts as one. Yes.
Two hearts beating together. I'm in love. Ooh.
So, like, on one hand, I do understand when people are like, oh, everybody's gay now. Like, yeah, they fucking wish they were. But, characters like this were always meant to be, and it's really nice that they can be.
Yeah.
However, in a similar way that in the 80s, I'm just ranting, soz, in the 80s and 90s or whatever, as long as forever, no one was allowed to be gay. Mm-hmm. Now, they can be gay, but they can't be too gay. So,
what is too gay?
So, for instance, they can't be not heteronormative. What's the phrase for that?
Heteronormative, yeah. That's
not that. They have to be heteronormative. So, like, we joke about the fact that, like, it's very, very heavily implied. The undertones are that Scott, Logan, and Jean are in a throuple. But you're not allowed to put that in a comic book. You can't have a queer way of life represented that isn't monogamous love and dating. It's it's still considered non-traditional ways of living are now the kind of thing that's not acceptable. So they have to imply that, and they have to have undertones. Undertones? Is that the right word?
That's the thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a word. rather than outright being able to say it. And it could be 20, 30 years before the first comic book throuple is allowed.
Until we have a polyamorous relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great. And it, on one hand, it does feel like it's moving really fast. On the other hand, it's like, as long as you get married and have kids.
It's just one facet, one door that's open, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I'll take it.
Yes, everybody should be queer, but they're not queer enough. Everyone's gay, but they're not queer enough.
They're homosexual, but they're not gay.
They're not queer.
They're not queer.
They are gay. And some of them are gay, but also heterosexual. Like Emma Frost is one of the gayest characters. Alison Blair Dazzler is like the gayest character you'll ever meet. But they are absolutely 100% heterosexual characters. Like, they won't fuck girls.
As a gay man, if you sort of kiss a girl, no one thinks you're suddenly straight. But if you are out as a straight man and you like kiss another guy, then suddenly you're bi-curious or something like that. Like there's no, because heterosexuality is such the norm, such the standard, such the usual thing, that any deviation from it is like not the norm. Why do we have that double standard? Like,
Well, the fact that countries full out refuse to show films with a gay kiss, but they're absolutely fine with tits out, raw dogging, face being cut off, everything like that. But Buzz Lightyear's mates going like that, and it is banned because it is disgusting to show that to children. It's bullshit.
This is why we need to
stay
make visible.
Them all gay. Make every single, and I want them gay in the films. I want them queer. Bashing. No, that's offensive. No, that's where you beat each other up. No,
not bashing.
Smashing. Queer and smashing. Smashing all over. And like, that's how they meet Wolverine. They're like, who are you? And he's like, fucking Cyclops. Like, sorry, I'll be with you in a second.
In a leather daddy bar. Or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, with like the leather jacket open while he's... Sorry.
While he's what?
Finish the sentence. I don't need to finish that sentence.
With his leather jacket open. Is he, do you think, because Wolverine's quite short, do you think Wolverine's a top or a bottom? I'm not trying to stereotype short people.
Well, it's true. It's weird. Like, it must be difficult for tall guys to bottom because, like, just explain.
There's definitely ways you can get around
it. He would definitely be a teeny tiny power top. I think so. I definitely think he'd be a teeny tiny power top.
It's more the attitude, isn't it?
Also, Cyclops, he needs something up there. He would enjoy that.
He needs
be like, there we go. Fire that optic blast, baby. Yeah.
just get that optic nerve. He's very anxious, isn't he? He's very angsty. He's like
all of this stuff all the time, and
he needs a cock in his ass.
It's a difficult job to have, but once he, get that G-spot here.
Like, oh, there it is,
baby.
Thanks, Logan.
Cheers, mate. He's not English, so why would he say that? But
who do you think is going to be the first gay, like openly gay? I can't say X-Men because there's no X-Men in the MCU. Who's going to be the first out gay superhero headliner?
Headliner,
as in like their name is on the poster.
Probably a lesbian of some kind, because I feel like that's less offensive, right? Because they quite like
it. Kind of is, yeah.
They can, the homophobes still quite like a lesbian, so we'll probably get that. Or Iceman.
Yeah, could be Iceman.
Because if they do,
I wonder if they'll have a non-hetero in the Marvels.
What? Let Carol be non-hetero for one.
Could be Carol. Could be Monica. We don't know anything about Monica's romantic relationships.
No, not at all. I don't know much about her. I don't know a lot about her in the comics. I do remember her from like some of the 80s Avengers that I read, but tits out. Yeah, that's a good point, because so many people assume that the Captain Marvel from the film was lesbian.
It's because of her haircut. Let's be honest. It was
the Karen haircut. Yeah. Karen
sort of. I mean, the mohawk looked really cool, but also like even the short hair was like Oh, that's really bitch.
What? In the film? She had like GHD curls in it, for God's sake.
In that film, and then like in Endgame, did she have like super short hair as well?
Yeah. So are all the X-Men queer? I think more than not these days.
I want you to give me a list of the 100% that you know for a fact are straight X-Men.
Oh, I don't want
Not
to
even
do that
X-Men,
one.
the mutants.
Oh.
I mean, do you know? I'm saying, like, how many do you know have said, like, no homo or whatever? Like, how many are there? There must be fewer of them than there are the queer ones nowadays. Magneto?
Oh, see, it's great. Basically, if you're listening to this, you probably also listen to Comic Book Queers and Cerebrocast. So in that, they basically try and make everyone gay, and I'm here for
Okay,
it.
okay.
The relationship between Charles and Magneto
Of course,
is
yeah.
the most wonderful gay relationship without the bumming. Because like if you read the comic where Professor X goes off into space because he's about to die, like Magneto he's in like this titty top, and it's like a sleeveless 80s super 80s with a cape. So it like cuts like that, and of course like
Right.
his guns are out. So Charles is like lying on the floor dying, and he's like cradling him in his arms as he's about to die, and
Oh,
that sort
dear.
of stuff, and like promises to look after us, that sort of stuff. It is so gay lover partner, just without the bumming.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So no, I don't think Magneto is straight.
Okay. So not him, then.
No.
Who else have we got?
Should we do like smash or pass, or like queer or
Says-
not? Queer eye for the X-Men eye.
Or should I do this? I'll look it up, and you can tell me.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Top 10 greatest mutant superheroes
We
of
need more
all
than
time.
10. We need more than
You're right.
10.
100.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do. We'll get as far as we get.
100 greatest mutants of the Marvel Universe. And we're going to do queer or not. And a special edition of Smash or Pass, we'll do queer or not.
You're using your gay rainbow on me.
Homo or no? No homo, bro.
No.
No homo, bro.
All right. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Storm.
Bisexual.
Okay.
Most definitely queer.
Who does she like finger then?
There was there was a whole mini series where she was off in Japan running around with a woman called Yukio, and that's when she decided to cut her hair into a mohawk and wear leather.
Okay, moving on. Cable. Ally?
Ally.
Is he ally?
No homo,
Must
bro.
be.
No homo,
he's
bro.
he's a first homo bro.
No homo,
Jean Grey.
Polyamorous.
Of course, she's got two partners.
So
I
don't think she is homosexual, but I think she is queer in that she's not heteronormative.
I'll buy it.
Yep.
Rogue.
Ooh.
As the daughter of two mothers.
Yeah.
What do we think?
I love that she's the daughter of two mothers. I wish they could have that she was biologically the daughter of two mothers.
Oh my god, that would be
amazing.
Been
wonderful.
Kevin Feige, if you're listening.
Well, they've said it in the comics that was an or Kurt could have been either one.
Yeah, because obviously that was one of the things that they couldn't explicitly say.
Yeah,
that Mystique shape. We talked about this before.
Yeah, Mystique and Destiny they've just suddenly exploded as gay royalty. They are wonderful. I'm gonna say I don't see much homo. Okay. Just very much an ally with Rogue. I don't know.
I'll take it.
I think so.
I want her on my side for sure.
No homo, bro.
Next is Jubilee. Am I busting your theory now because you don't know about the history of these people? I don't know anything about her in the comics.
Like, I feel she could be a lesbian. I feel we can make her a lesbian easy. Because she's not interesting as a straight person. You may as well make her gay.
At least a bi.
No, I think gay. I think lesbian. Full-blown lesbian.
Okay. Next one is Magneto, whom we've talked about. Next one is Polaris.
No, Polaris? But it's long established that dating Polaris means you're gay. Because Bobby Drake famously dated Polaris. That's how she was introduced as Bobby Drake's girlfriend. I was like,
Oh, really? Then how would she introduce as isn't she one of Magneto's children?
she is actually Magneto's daughter, one of his only children because of the retcon.
We'll do that in another episode.
Not a gay herself, but she attracts them, I think.
Yeah, okay, good. So she must be an ally. She's a fag hag.
Ally. Oh, massive hag. Wonderful hag. She'll bring you coffee. She's lovely. Yeah.
She bring you coffee?
It's a thing from the comics that she's like fighting and she's carrying a coffee cup. She's like, whatever.
Okay.
She's like a bougie Jewish princess now because it's brilliant. I love it.
Okay. Next one is Beast.
Ugh, I hate him. No
No
homo, bro. You don't get any homo.
No homo?
Get out.
Fine, we'll pass on him then. Next one is Kitty Pryde.
Bisexual queen. I love her. She's officially bisexual. Canonically bisexual.
Next one is the character that I will probably end up playing in the MCU. Can you guess who it is?
It's not Gambit.
No, Nostrovia.
Oh, are you going to do a Russian accent then?
Maybe. Who not? I could do. I know a bit of Russian. I could speak it. I just haven't touched that up for a while.
Is that who you're talking about?
What do we think of Colossus? I'm 6'4".
I don't think he's interesting enough to be gay, unfortunately. Colossus,
No.
Sorry. Pretty and basic and,
his powers are pretty straightforward as well, isn't it?
No homo, bro.
No homo, bro? Okay, next one is Apocalypse. What do you know about
queer.
Apocalypse? Is
super queer. Yeah.
Super queer?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I know he's got a...
Doesn't he shapeshift?
It's a bit more complicated than that, but he has a wife, but also she's like super mask, badass BDSM warrior wife, and he's gone now. And he was totally flirting with Richter, who's newly gay. So queer.
Okay, I'll take it. Next one is Blink.
I like Blink, but only Age of Apocalypse Blink. Yeah, she's homo of some kind. She could easily any kind you want. What kind you want?
Any kind
All
you
want.
The above.
Again, I would probably, because I'm old fashioned, I would go more lesbian than generic bisexual, because I feel like a lot of characters are put as bisexual rather than like pick one.
Yeah.
Not that bisexuality is a choice. Not that I'm just saying writers might favor saying they're bisexual so they can kind of like get rid of it later.
They can be edgy and sort of, you know, like they were playing that card. But also like it's much more common, which I think is a fact. Like it's much more common for women to be accepting of their bisexuality than it is for men.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Yeah, let's make Blink a lesbian. I would like that.
I'm down with it.
I love lesbians. Let's have more of them.
Please have more.
Please more.
Next one is Nightcrawler.
He's super Catholic. That doesn't mean yes or no, but that causes a problem. And I know he's dealing with it in the comics, because now that he can't die, and he also did die and came back from the dead from heaven. That's such a Chris Claremont story.
And was he like, I came back and I saw Jesus and Saint Peter
and the devil? All of it. Yeah. He did.
Oh fuck, maybe there's nothing. Maybe
No, he was in heaven, so he knows there is stuff. So he's super, super religious.
Well, we've mentioned afterworlds, underworlds, whatever.
Afterlives
on episodes. There's so many of them.
I would love him to be bisexual. Like, I think that would be really fucking hot, because he's my alien. I know he's not an alien, but my kind of alien fetish, and the fact that Nightcrawler probably has two penises. Let's be honest. He probably has two penises.
Where does that come from?
He has two fingers. He has two toes.
So do cows.
They have hooves.
Hooves.
A writer said that once back in the 90s, like, he's got two fingers, he's got two toes. What else has he got? I think he's got two penises.
Two nostrils.
I think he's got two penises. So I would love him to be bisexual, because I think he's a lovely contradiction of highly religious but highly sexually charged. And I would love that to be a bisexual.
You just want to break down those religious barriers, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Be like, yeah, fuck me,
boy. I do.
Pray to Jesus while you do it. Now pray for your sins.
Jesus looking.
After the orgasm, you're like,
quick, before Jesus looks, before Jesus sees.
Now deal with this and show me your angst.
Yeah.
And while you're dealing with your angst, fuck me again. Yeah. Sorry, what?
I think I'm gonna say bisexual. I would enjoy that.
Okay, moving on. Next one is Betsy Braddock.
She's bisexual. She's canonical.
Why did it say Betsy Braddock and not Psylocke?
Because Betsy Braddock isn't Psylocke anymore.
What?
Yeah, where have you been?
When did this happen?
So they
ARB comics also like I know that she's got like a really complicated
super complicated
history. And I guess Psylocke is kind of Asian now. Apparently,
No,
this is how behind I am.
But that's the thing. Like, it was done at a time when it was okay to like, we're going to turn her Asian and make her into a sexy ninja. And then it was only supposed to be temporary, but they kept it going because she was so popular, and she was an amazingly popular thing. And for ages, it was great because she was representation. But then nowadays, you're like, it's gross that she's this rich English aristocrat just taking advantage of an Asian woman's body who died because of her. So they swapped it back so that Betsy is now back in her Caucasian body, and Kanon has her Psylocke body and is taking the name Psylocke. So they have both.
Kanon.
We're
gonna take this offline. You'll explain to me what's happening with Psylocke right now.
It's great. I think it's a good fix. But yes, carry on. Bisexual.
Next one is Mystique. We're very clear.
Yeah, but they say she's bisexual, but I think she should just be gay because she's never loved anyone the way she loves Destiny. Just because she fucked men, and Destiny did as well. I think that. I mean, that's just because they were around in the 1800s and just had to get by. I think they were.
I mean, we've all been there.
Although she could have just, if she wanted to hide, she could have just pretended to be a man and just fucked women then. But she didn't, so she still fucked men. So yes, no, okay, fine. She's bisexual.
Next is Professor X.
Yeah.
Kind of like
whatever that is.
Gay without the bumming.
Well, you know how straight men don't like women? They just fuck them. I think that's what he is. So like, like the problematic straight men you see online, they're like, ugh, women are bitches and that sort of stuff. Everything they do is for the attention of men. I think Professor X is one of those. Like, he'll fuck women, but he loves Magneto.
That's one of the interesting things
but probably doesn't want to fuck him.
The film. What was the film that they did recently with Jennifer Lawrence? And she was talking about like, maybe it's the ex-women because you're not doing anything. Oh, and I was like, that was weird. At the time, I was like, that was weird. And now I'm like, actually, Charles is a bit of a cunt when it comes to.
He's a massive cunt, and I love that. It's very accepted that he is some of the stuff his character has done. He's reprehensible.
Yeah.
Ugh. So yeah, I think he is whatever that is.
Bishop.
Huh. I don't see no homo, bro. I don't see any homo.
I don't know. Okay, fine.
I don't think so. Disagree with me, please let me know.
I'll leave it to you. Yep. Next one is Dust. What do we know about Dust?
She's a cool character and she needs to be in it more. I don't know about her. She's only no, I don't think so. Because she has been so isolated and is very devoutly Muslim character. She hasn't really explored any kind of emotional relationships, but I think she did have a crush on a boy, but I don't know. It's difficult to kind of let go of that.
I feel like she was introduced to be more representation for like Muslim characters, but because of that, we're not able to explore sexuality.
Intersectionality. That's too much. She can't be a Muslim woman who's also potentially some sort of queer. Like, no, people would not be able to get
woman mutant who's also queer.
That. The mutant is the part that they would have the least problem with. The readers,
I know.
It's everything else they have a problem with.
Okay, next one is Cyclops.
Polyamorous as well.
I'll take it.
He needs, I think he'd be good in a.
I mean, why not?
In a like a full-on proper male relationship, because let's face it, him and Jean are not a good couple.
Yeah,
him and Emma, that was fun, but that was for then and not now. I think he needs to be with a guy. I think you need to give yourself some proper time to be bisexual, Scott.
Okay, I'll buy it. I know a little about his character in the comics, but it seems to make sense.
Like a lot of sense.
I could play Cyclops, but the thing is, you'd hide these beauties.
These baby blues. No.
Yeah, I know. No. Next one is, for some reason, Madrox. I'm assuming this refers to Jamie Madrox. No. I mean, if you could duplicate yourself, you'd have sex with yourself.
Yeah.
The end.
I mean, he would have tugged himself off. Like, a lot. Yeah. A lot.
At least. You'd experiment.
But I don't think that means he's queer. I think he just
I guess not.
had a play, and that's about it. I don't see. But yeah.
No homo?
No full homo, but maybe a wee bit of like. Well, because he's experimented with himself. He's explored that, and probably is like if he's wanted to, he would have. But I don't think he does.
He wouldn't have those kind of barriers that some other no homos would. Okay, next one is Sabretooth. What do we think?
No, I don't think homo, but he's that
Yeah.
kind of garbage, homophobic piece of shit that's also kind of hot.
Yeah, I know you like him. That's why I had to put him in. Okay, 2 more. Here's the penultimate one, Scarlet Witch. Who is a mutant on this list? Thank you very much.
She is a mutant, and it's only a matter of time until they figure out how to reverse that fucking crap.
Ugh. Wait, reverse the crap that she's a mutant or reverse the crap that she's not a mutant?
Reverse the crap that she's not a mutant.
Thank you.
Still,
I'm like,
she's still currently not a mutant. And they had the opportunity to reverse that. They could have easily undone that, and she chose
in
not
the
to.
comics, you mean?
Yeah. They could have
Whatever.
undone it, and I'm so fucking annoyed that they didn't do that.
It's because they're trying to copy the films.
Yeah, but she can be a mutant in the films now.
I know.
So when they do that in the films, they'll undo it in the comics, and I'll just wait for that.
Finally. But is she gay? This is the real question we're asking here.
I think she should be. I think she'd find happiness if she stopped hanging around with shitty men. Like she keeps going after shitty men.
I mean, she's with Vision for a long time in the comics, but is he gone in the comics
But then
as well?
she's with like Wonder Man, who is also Vision, and then she was with someone else. I was like, oh.
So she's got issues, basically, is what you're saying, and we have to sort that out before we figure out.
She has daddy issues, and he's not even her daddy anymore, for God's sake.
We definitely can't let that go, can we? Okay, so she's a big question mark at the moment, isn't she?
I would definitely say she's a question mark because they could do so much with her character in the comic books, and they're really not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing anything with it. I think they're waiting to see what they do with the films a bit more.
So super powerful.
Well, she also was like fucking like robots, so I think that's queer in itself.
Androids.
Android is a human-shaped robot, so.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, just we call it something else,
which I would absolutely do too. So whatever.
Okay, now the final one I'm going to put for this question.
This better be a good one.
Yeah, are you ready?
Okay.
Queer or not? Emma Frost. Yeah, I know, right?
No homo.
Is she really no homo?
I would say only because. Yeah, and it's a great choice. I think I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier.
She's clearly an ally, though, at least. With the way she deals with Bobby.
I don't think she'd fuck a girl. I don't think she'd even kiss a girl.
No? Okay.
No. But she's also the biggest gay icon in the X-Men franchise, I think. Mm-hmm. Maybe Dazzler, but I think Emma's way more iconic. So, no. But the biggest, bestest ally that the X-Men can muster is Emma Frost.
Okay.
I would say, in my opinion. So no homo, bro, but don't call me bro. From Emma Frost.
Don't call me bro. Well, good. That's good. Thanks for that. That's it. That's all I got.
Enjoyed that.
For you now, yeah. Good. Gay.
No, they're not all queer, but...
Okay.
So
after a whole tirade, the answer is... No, not really. But
not actually, no. But
no, not actually. But
a
growing number of people are, and the ones who aren't are just either assholes or
allies. Yeah, cool.
I'll take it. Yeah,
all right. Well,
that's our parting word, our parting gift for you later today.
If you're not an ally, you're an asshole, and I think I stand by that. That's great.
I will as well. I love it.
Let us know if you disagree with any of my no homo bros, any of my choices. If you think Emma Frost is queer in some way, is she in a polyamorous relationship with Scott and Jean? Let us know. You can email us at incompletegeekspodcast@gmail.com.
You can follow us on the social medias. You can follow me on Instagram is the best way, at John Marks, JONMARX. You can follow Nick at Nick Baker Geek on Twitter is the best way. And
you can also follow me on TikTok because I'm about to hit 6,000 followers because I seem to be blowing up at the moment.
6,000!
Which I know is nothing, but I love it.
That's more than the number of followers I have on Instagram.
Yeah, well, it's TikTok. It's different. Like, one's recently gone quite viral. So I'm Nicholas Mark Baker on TikTok, and that's probably where I'll be posting some of these videos as well. So
yeah. Look up for the videos. I am technically on TikTok as well, but I don't really post, and anything I post gets put to Instagram anyway. So yeah,
we should do an episode on Emma Frost, an entire episode.
We totally could. We've already flagged like a rogue episode. We clearly gonna do an Emma Frost episode.
We got time.
We got so much stuff to do. So listen. If you like this show, please give us a like and a follow on Instagram, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. What's the other one that I learned the other day?
Amazon as well.
Amazon,
We're on
yes.
Amazon as well. Give us a rating. We'd love a 5-star rating. It really helps the podcast. We want to grow and reach as many listeners as possible. We apologize if we've got anything wrong.
Let us know.
If I made mistakes, because we're not complete geeks.
But we are working on it.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.